gonna hear me munching.
Yes, but it's fine. You're fine. Don't worry about
They
it.
can put up with it.
Exactly.
It's
Lawrence,
worth it.
welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I wanted to put that training in.
I'm only 2 hours late, guys.
He's only 2 hours late, but it's fine.
It's what you get for doing, big clients.
Yes, exactly. And that's just a taste of Mexico.
I'm adapting to the culture.
Yeah. He's going through. You want to talk about it, or should we leave it out?
No, we're not going to talk about that.
He got a little bit sick from some street food. That's it.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit that it made ivermectin necessary, but that's fine. Welcome, bro.
Thank you.
Happy to have you here in Mexico. Happy to have you in the office. Happy to make another IRL podcast happen. So for the listeners who have no idea who you are, can you give us a little bit on who Lawrence Elliot is? What do you do? What are you doing?
Sure.
Yeah.
My name is Lawrence Elliot. I'm from the UK, and I am a Biowinner.
Yes.
So I come from a psychology background. I went to university of Bristol, studied psychology.
Yeah.
Came out. Believe it or not, I went to work in finance.
Right.
But for all the tattoos, hated it.
Okay.
Didn't like being told what to do.
Yes.
Left. Quit. In fact, I quit. Yeah. Not really sure what I was gonna do.
More water?
Yeah, please.
Of course.
I ended up working on the doors. So I don't know what you in the UK we call them doormen. I guess like bouncers.
Yes.
Security.
Bouncers. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. So like.
You had this physique then?
Yeah.
Something like that?
I've always trained. It started off, it was boxing, then it was kickboxing. I did some Krav Maga. I went into Muay Thai. That continued. Had a few fights, fought for uni. And then obviously weights alongside that.
Yeah.
Came out, quit my job. I just come out of a long-time relationship. I went and moved back in with my parents. They're thinking like, what's going on? What is this guy? He had everything was good. Ended up working on doors. So yeah, they were probably thinking, what's going on here? Started getting all these tattoos. Ended up, I was the youngest head doorman. I started running strip clubs, which was interesting.
Yeah, I saw your quote tweet on Vans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I'd say I learned more about human behavior and sexual dynamics, like behavioral dimorphisms between male and female behaviors during my time on the doors than I did during my degree.
That makes sense.
It was quite insightful.
Yeah.
I think that one reason I was quite good at it and enjoyed it was because, I don't believe in it, but I guess when I was a kid, they said you have ADHD,
Right.
which I kind of, I myself consider it, like, I guess it's on the same spectrum as autism, but I feel it's kind of on the polar opposite, yet they share comorbidities. There's similarities, but there are also stark differences. For example, like ADHD guys normally have this hyper vigilance, hyper awareness. And I think that's what allows that when you're on the doors, you're aware of everything that's going on and what people are up to. And like you always have this instinctual indication of what's going to happen, and like this background predictive mechanism where you can kind of react faster than normal individuals. So I quite enjoyed it in that sense, just the power, the control. Anyway, so I was working at this strip club, and I'd realized that guys were, I don't know if there's a correlation between going to strip clubs and being closeted homosexuals, but the guys would end up spending more time outside chatting to me than they would inside with the girls.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I still had this fitness thing going on, so then I started doing coaching. And that kind of just like took off.
Yeah.
Started getting crazy results with guys.
Yeah.
I think having a no nonsense approach, being able to relate, combination, and then with life experience of being a guy, like when I was younger, I wouldn't say I had the same kind of
course,
confidence and stature.
Yeah.
I was able to develop that, and so I find it quite easy helping other guys to do the same.
Right.
That took off, and it's just kind of led to it's extended out to more broader kind of like holistic coaching, in the sense that I'll take on guys dealing with mindset stuff, dating, relationships, physique, performance in general, cognitive enhancement, that kind of thing. So it's like it's.
So how did you stumble upon that like holistic aspect of it? Because I imagine as a bouncer and as a managing a strip club, you didn't see that yet.
Well, I mean, the mind and body tied, they're inseparable. And that was you'd get guys coming up to you making comments on physique or stature or whatever. I think to like the average individual, one would assume that a big guy is someone you don't want to mess with. When you've
Dog, I wouldn't even try you.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like it's completely backward. And when you're in that world, as I imagine some of your viewers who will know that size means absolutely nothing. And normally it's a compensation for someone's inward feelings of superiority. They have to project that they blow themselves up on the outside because they feel so small inside. I've seen guys, tiny guys, take on way bigger guys, outnumbered. It's all about heart and being able to combine a rock hard mindset with, I'd say, an above average physique. That's where you get the perfect balance. Being overbound with muscle and not having either the agility and the mobility in terms of movement, and also the cognitive adaptability and the ability to adapt to your environment and who you're speaking to. Like I can happily converse with you here, and then I can go and converse with some Albanian mafia that comes into the strip club, and I can on a level I can kind of, you know what I mean, adapt. And that's my whole thing.
Where'd you learn that adaptability? How did you, I guess, find that?
I don't think you can. I think it's life experience. I don't think you can learn.
Like how did that happen?
Well, the place that I grew up in, a place called Nottingham, which in the UK is termed Shottingham, because of the gun violence, or the association with gun violence, which is not that common in the UK. Obviously, guns are illegal. We're more knives and that, but rough. But then, because I was always okay academically, I was able to get into university, where when I got there, it was all guys that had gone to, we call them private schools. So I think non-state schools, so like privately funded, from guys from rich backgrounds that would, they have a certain way of speaking, which I definitely picked up a bit. But anyway, being surrounded by those guys then opened me up to a different world. And when I came back, I was able to kind of
adapt.
amalgamate the two and realize that I can I can adapt to who I'm
Yeah,
with. And
it's
it
interesting you could pinpoint that as well. I want to talk about your training philosophy. You posted a reel saying bicep curls won't serve you in an apocalypse. Can you break down your current training philosophy?
Yeah. Just trying to get away from the whole like vanity centric mode of training, which, don't get me wrong, I've been a victim of falling into that. I call it the hole, where your eyes are just focused on the
size.
cosmetic.
Yeah, of course.
But it's missing the whole spiritual component of training. I feel that men that align themselves with this avenue, they're harming themselves spiritually. Well, there's no real purpose in it. There's no inherent value in it, in the terms that it doesn't serve any like.
It works for nothing but just like how you feel about yourself in the mirror.
Yeah, but then it's counterproductive, because you may think that it serves you in that you look in the mirror, you've got bigger biceps, but anyone who bodybuilds and knows you're never big enough. You're gonna it's never enough.
Yeah.
That doesn't, one day you won't wake up and think, yeah, I've done it. Like, cool, we're here.
Yeah.
That won't happen. But then obviously there's other component of actually being able to move and utilize your muscles, not just existing on your frame. When you get past a certain point, I say like, when you get past about 100 kilos, so for Americans that's what, like 225, 225, that's when I think you start to detract from your ability to maneuver.
Okay. That's big.
Well, to say that's the upper, like that's the top end of the threshold. But yeah, just combining multiple modalities to make sure you're adaptable. Like adaptability, I think that's the key. So for me, that looks like basic like principles or fundamental program that obviously you can work from and manipulate. But I try and keep it, and there will be 3 weight sessions a week minimum, probably 4. But 3 is like the basis. 2 high intensity cardio sessions, and then at least 2 zone 2. For me, it will look like 3 days Muay Thai. So one sparring, 2 sessions, which might be bag work or pad work.
Yeah.
And then 3 weight sessions will be like an upper, lower, and a full body. And then clients, if I kind of work from that, if clients come to me and they want to build bigger arms or legs, or we'll factor in an extra day to work on that.
Yeah.
And zone 2 is just standard. Like obviously everyone should be doing that.
Cardio,
don't. If guys follow me on Twitter, they know that
you don't count steps.
Yeah.
We talked about that.
I'm not an advocate for counting steps or stuff. I don't like to push the neuroticisms that exist within the health and fitness space too much. And again, it's all about the adaptability. Like what you want to have like a fundamental philosophy that can exist in different environments, and it's flexible in terms of like, it can't be. There's always going to be external factors that impose upon your routine and schedule and life and circumstances.
Yeah.
If you can develop something that's kind of able to maintain its
that makes sense.
Its structure and form.
Yeah.
Whereas guys, they'll follow. They might have like an extreme way of doing it, and they have to hit these 10K steps. It's like something comes up and it throws them off, and they lose a week's progress, because it's to them like not doing 10K in a day is such a big hit
100%.
that they feel it's not even worth me eating now. It's not worth me going to the gym. It's not worth. It's like
You're good. I see it as an idea, as a way of thinking, of simply just not being stationary. If that makes sense.
Keep it moving.
Yeah, exactly. Do you have there we go.
And also, I think that reflects in multiple areas, like everything. The purpose of the main function of the body is to maintain homeostatic balance.
We've talked about that.
So, like in terms of supplementation or whatever you're doing, going through cycling approaches and making sure that whatever you do on one end, you're accounting for it on the other.
Yeah.
So that you don't spend too long going one way without squaring that off. It sounds like kind of fluffy, but it works. I don't. I've done quite extreme things. Like I've done extreme experimentation, and like I advocate. The term I use is biowinning.
Right.
And guys will say, like, what is that?
I have a quote on biowinning if you want me to read it, because I really want to talk about that. Science meets strategy. Intuition meets experimentation. Biowinning is the strategic manipulation of biology, psychology, and environment to forge man into his highest performing, most vital form. Survival is replaced by supremacy. What's biowinning?
I think that's yeah,
that's from
nicely.
you. Yeah.
I know, it's from me. Who else? Yeah. So biowinning, well, it's like it's a play on biohacking.
Yeah.
Right. My thing is promoting vitality over longevity. I would rather
resilience over
life force as opposed to life extension. Brian Johnson might live till 120 they're arbitrary figures, right? But he lives 120 at 50% of his 50% life force. Personally, I would rather live to 50 at 100%.
I agree.
So biowinning is for the guys that align themselves with that philosophy of wanting to push the boundaries and get the most out of life in terms of performance, like general experimentation, performance not necessarily athletic, but in all areas. Like it permeates all aspects of life.
I think what you mean for performance is simply like living.
Exactly.
No?
Exactly. And it's for guys that they don't feel they belong in a specific camp. They're wanting to take little elements from each school of thought or thinking, whatever.
Yeah.
In order to push limits. It's the guys that when they were given cough medicine as a kid, they would double up. Their mom would say, take 2 scoops, they would take 3. The guys that they can't stick within the speed limit. The guys that are doubling up on the pre-workouts, pushing the boundaries, testing life, seeing what they can get away with, but then accounting for it on the other side. That's what I want. That's what I like to.
What do you mean accounting it from the other side?
So like, don't get me wrong. Well, I'm not. I don't advocate for like. I've done stupid things and experiments so that others don't have to. But in the same, I don't discourage experimentation. I don't discourage use of external component support, whether that's supplementation, performance.
I don't remember who said it.
Compounds.
I think it was William Blake. Buck. Knowledge comes from experimentation, something like that. That's the idea. Yeah.
Not reading books. And if it means sacrificing longevity, or you might take a year off your life, but then you do it 5 times, you might increase your ability to maximize those years for 10. In my head,
you gave the example on Twitter on sleep, no?
What was that?
I don't remember well, but I think it was like you're sleep deprived one day versus kind of like living like a sleep deprived person for a month or something like that. I remember. I remember reading this from you for sure.
Right. Yeah, that was about so right now everyone's talking about the peptides and the metabolic agent.
That's right. Yeah.
That was from my whole realignment principle of, yeah, we can push the boundaries, but then let's make sure we're accounting for the other side, in the sense that if we're operating at overcapacity for 3 months straight using metabolic agents to push our, like, whatever it is, mitochondrial efficiency, we're pushing the sympathetic state dominance, meaning our central nervous system is primarily in a sympathetic dominant state. So we're pushing that fight or flight, the balance. Make sure we spend some time on the other end of the spectrum. So like, if you're to break it down, I guess I would rather do 2 months extreme one way, followed by 2 months extreme the other, as opposed to 4 months of living a mundane life. Biowinning is about not wanting average. It's about pushing for more. It's a disdain for the mundane.
I saw a picture recently about how tigers live. They live in both extremes, or it's either sleeping right on the tree branch, that's the picture, or it's hunting.
Exactly, that's the predatory philosophy of life.
I love it.
And and it's not something that I feel, it's not right for everyone.
No, it's
but
not.
The guys who it is right for, I feel it's also interesting because I feel they're the same guys that could also fall into patterns of behavior that would perhaps not be as conducive to a healthy or prosperous life, in the sense that it probably, this whole philosophy probably relates to what someone may describe as an addictive personality, or someone that seeks more, and that can manifest in ways that would perhaps be more detrimental than this kind of bio-winning life. So it's a win-win.
Do you think bio-winning life is an actual, like, I don't know, I was just thinking about this, like an actual, is like a philosophy or just a simple personality type?
I think it's a personality type.
Yeah, 100%.
I think it's a personality type that exists.
A lot of people have it, but they don't know.
Exactly, yeah.
You know,
like it exists. You might not know. I'm trying to get those individuals into this way of life so they can leverage their strengths in a way that I feel is going to be more beneficial than falling into destructive behaviors.
Because according to, I hate calling it this because it's just so overused, but according to the system, there should only be 1 or 2 personality types. So if you fall out of that, you're different, and there's no way you can live like that. That's why you're diagnosed at 4 years old with ADHD, and you start getting medication, whatever. It's just a personality type, right?
Yeah, I mean.
So you're scared into having that personality type. So that's why I say some people might not know they have it, because it's just been hidden from them since forever.
Yeah, I think that this kind of personality type exists at the intersection of, they exist at the top of the triangle. Like, everyone else belongs on these 2 sides, and then there's these guys at the top of the triangle that don't quite belong. They don't have their I think it's been like popularized recently. It's kind of cringe even saying it, but I think they would be termed Sigma, in the sense that they're like lone wolf types.
Yes.
They go their own way. They question the narrative. And I don't get me wrong. It's further than, because a lot of guys may feel they belong within this group, this subtype, because they don't go along with the mainstream. But trust me, when it's got some balloons. What's that mean?
No idea.
It's like almost as if when something becomes too popular, something in my brain tells me, right, that's not it. Like, keep searching. Even when, right, if we briefly touch on the whole COVID thing, like, that was obviously, when that first came about, to me, that was obviously weird and wrong, and I was questioning it. then when everyone started talking about the vaccines I'm like, maybe I should get a vaccine. It's like as soon as something becomes, I guess not even mainstream, but the level before mainstream, then you start questioning again. You're like, no, keep searching. Because the reality is, if you're with the majority or the consensus, you're probably wrong.
Of course.
You're probably wrong.
Yeah. The majority of the consensus is just it's something being fed. It's not even real yet for sure. Yeah. Let's see if this question makes sense. So I'll structure it for you differently. Like, when did you start biowinning? What I mean by that is, like, when did that concept appear in your mind? When did you start framing it, I guess?
Framing it recently, but it's always existed.
Yeah, for sure. You were born with it.
Yeah, and I'm not.
Yeah, but
I'm not just saying that for camera. Like,
no,
I remember as a kid. We'd go on holiday, and it was like, okay, put your sun cream on, and I had. If you ask my parents, they'll say that I was allergic to it, but I wasn't. I would like lie, and I don't know why, but it was like my body was telling me this stuff is not right.
Yeah.
I would lie and say it's like causing me.
Yeah.
I just knew it wasn't right to lever that on my skin. Just questioning what everything around you, and like just questioning what you're told, and never accepting something for what it is just because you're meant to. Like, wanting to learn, but why?
Right.
Why? Like, is it right that I'm being fed this at school? Like, is it right that I'm being taught stuff like that? I think it made it easier growing up. With my mum was quite strange family, coming from like originally Russian background, and she was very anti-American, and I wasn't allowed McDonald's. I wasn't allowed, like, kids would bring in sweets on their birthdays. I wasn't allowed to eat sweets. I wasn't allowed to watch cartoons. She fed this narrative that the mainstream was wrong and I shouldn't exist within it. So that probably had an effect.
Yeah.
Because like that wasn't normal where I was from.
Right. What are the biggest lies men are sold about performance and energy, in your view?
Currently.
Yeah.
Biggest lies currently. Performance and energy. One of them would be like testosterone being pushed as the main.
And energy,
factor.
By the way, and performance, I also mean like living.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, there's the obvious ones that we all know. Like, if you exist within I don't even know what you'd call it, but the Twitter space that we're in.
An echo chamber?
It is, well,
yeah.
For me, it's not an echo chamber because I'll follow different people from different areas. To be honest, I think it's excellent. I think it's great that we have access to all these minds. And it if you're able to discern between what's useful and what's not, then it can be a great asset.
We talked about that. Yeah, I was just
that it seems that everything works in trends and cycles. So people jump on the latest bandwagon, and that's pushed as the reason why men aren't having sex, or the reason why we aren't having kids, or the reason why whatever it is, testosterone is low. It's the mold. It's DHT. It's we're not taking enough creatine. Just keep questioning, and just don't. None of it's right. We're never going to get to the one answer. There's never going to be one. It's not. The answer is not sugar. The answer is not mold. The answer is not orange juice. There's we're never gonna reach the end, and that's the beauty of it. That's life. We always assume we're at the pinnacle of understanding,
and that's when something else happens to show us.
Exactly, and then someone will come and switch it up, and you'll be like, why didn't I think of that? A useful heuristic I find is that whatever's pushed as the kind of current, take the opposed view, just take the polar opposite and ponder on that, have a play about with that. I also believe that you can hold two diametrically opposed ideas simultaneously,
100%.
both being true. They're both true within a prism of perception, and that your reality can be different from someone else's reality. You can hold a view that they could completely oppose, whilst both being true to yourself.
Yes.
You got to remember that. Like, that's why being absolutist in any kind of in any of this, I don't think it serves you.
I think we were talking about this like on people following repeat, right? You just become a slave to that ideology.
Yeah. Personally, I could never totally align myself with. First of all, I think it's a masculinity thing, like aligning yourself entirely with another man.
Oh wow.
Is extremely effeminate
Right.
quality. We're not supposed to mold to men as men. We can take ideas and share views, but there's at some point you have to question. It's like if you look throughout history, normally men, they have mentors, and then at some point they either reach a point of either surpassing them, or there's a rift where the master senses that he may surpass them, and then there's kind of that. It's like Jung and Freud. That's the best example. You can.
Yeah, that's super interesting. You
have to live your own life. You have to search for your own answers. You have to question everything. Take ideas and use
and fold them into your reality. Yeah, we've been talking about this for like the past week.
Exactly.
And it's because it's so real, right? Yeah.
But at the same time, not everyone's capable. Like, a lot of people are there to exist, and we have to accept that. But
yeah, that's why you have
But just demand more of yourself. Try and find out if you are capable of creating your own view at school. Just ask more of yourself rather than just ending your life.
It's fine. You can emanate someone, but you don't have to become them. 100%. Yeah. Something that did help me when I dropped out of school was directly associating myself to certain ideologies or people and like following that almost religiously. And I realized how stupid that was, and I started to create my own view.
I mean, it's human. It's a normal human tendency to want. We have a need to belong. We have a want.
I feel like it's comfortable. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But comfort's not the way.
Nothing happens there.
No. I had a tweet saying,
I can search if you want to, by the way.
It was castration from comfort. Anytime that you feel that you're in a comfortable position or you're sitting comfortably, that's when it's time to start making movements, switching your thought, and switching things up, because we're not supposed to remain in comfort. That's where progress stagnates. That's where things settle, and the universe is not. It never settles. If you think you're settling and everything else around you is still continuing its course, and unless you're continuing with it, you're getting left. That's the whole adapt or get left behind. Mm-hmm. You may think you're comfortable, you may think you're cool, you may think you have the answers, but you haven't. Keep it moving. Revivo.
Forward, I was about to say forward's the way to live.
But like, you don't always know you're going forwards, and that's what you have to take on the uncertainty. You might go backwards to go forwards. You might go sideways for a bit. You might just keep moving, and eventually, hopefully, you would assume you end up in a place beyond where you are.
But you never end up there. You just continue. No?
True.
Yeah. Destinations are fake and gay.
Fake and gay, okay.
No?
Yeah, we'll go with that. Destinations are fake and gay.
Destinations are fake and gay. The truth is, you never get to that destination.
I don't want to get to any destination.
No,
I don't know
sure.
about you.
Absolutely
I
not.
never want to get to the destination.
I mean, I want to launch Revivo that looks like a destination, but as soon as that moment happens, it's just onward and upward. It's faster. It's even, yeah.
And that's like beautiful.
Yeah, destinations. I feel like is
it's the end.
Yeah. This sounds super gay, but like a societal construct. It's like a 9-to-5 thing.
Yeah, I think they want you to reach the destination.
Of course.
I think they want you to feel like, and that's it. There's
no purpose. There's no life. You found the destination.
Yeah,
what the fuck is that?
You found the destination, everything else is continuing, and you're remaining the same.
That is super trippy, no? Yeah.
Never accept your current position. Always question. Always be looking for more, and that's what it's all about.
You have to, I feel like, balance that thought process out as well, right? Because never accept your current. What did you just say? Never accept your current
position.
Never accept your current position, because that's what's going to give you the desire to continue and grow. But also, that keeps you in like a frustrated mindset a little bit, no?
Yeah, but I think that's necessary
for sure
for progress. If there was no frustration, there would be no desire to seek change, to seek more, which is cool. Like, but there's always more.
Yeah,
there's always more. And if everyone's settled, there would be no progress.
No, forget about settling. Yeah, for sure. I don't know what to touch on right now. There's so many topics we can like grab from there.
Do you ever do breaks on this?
No.
Continually shoot.
No.
How long do they normally last for? I don't know who would sit there and listen to me or you.
I hope a lot of people
for longer than what? How long has this been?
So far, 30 minutes.
30 minutes, that's enough. They don't need any more.
Yeah.
I
usually do like 30 minutes to an hour. Something that you did mention to me a week ago that I wanted to leave for this episode is that you've played around with nearly everything. Peptides, hormones, biohacks.
I think I should be dead. I think I should be dead. What really kind of...
What do you mean that should be dead?
Well, I saw a tweet a few months ago, right? And it was someone talking about, they gave like an example of a really reckless experiment they did with stimulants or something. And I looked at it and I thought, fucking hell. Like,
wasn't one of your...
What's wrong with me? Because I've done... Not to sound like this is not big or clever or whatever. I've done some stupid things.
Yeah.
But like when I saw the way other people reacting, like, oh my God, no way. And I'm thinking, fucking hell. What? Do you know what I mean? And like friends would always say, they'd always be shocked at things I do and I'd just be like, hypochondria, like relax. You need to that. I never had that health anxiety. And I think that was
good. Yeah.
That was instilled into me through you probably call it child neglect nowadays. Like not being my mum would not take me to the doctor unless my arm was hanging off. I was not allowed to see, like, you know, there was nothing wrong. There was nothing ever wrong with me.
Yeah.
At least that's what I was told, and that was instilled into me. So I never had that like health anxiety. So I would push the limits, and I think that psychologically, without that second guessing, you probably save yourself a lot of. I do believe a lot of health is, well, all health is psychosomatic in the sense that there's a psychological component at least, right? And if that's kind of not there and you're not thinking,
Well, that's
this
what
is going to do you
homeopathy
damage.
is, no?
It relates to, yeah. But if you're completely oblivious to the fact that something could do damage, it's probably going to do less damage.
Yeah. What's the craziest thing you've played around with just for fun? Like for fun, for a clip on the podcast.
For fun.
Yeah. Not your purpose being for fun, but for content fun.
Right. What like recreationally or
not necessarily like a peptide you've wanted to experiment with. I know you've done everything, but that's like the point.
The most like reckless would be the DNP, the
DNV.
Dinitriphenol. So it's an explosive, and it basically heats up. It's a mitochondrial uncoupler, meaning it basically speeds up your metabolism by an insane amount, like in layman's terms. And I'm not going to get scientific now, but it basically cooks you from the inside. It's quite dangerous. Yeah, I've done that. Combine that with like saunas, Adderall.
Why did you touch that?
So burning fat, that burns fat. Just experiments. Like I can't, if something exists and I've seen people talk about it, or so like before YouTube, or I don't know where people get their information, but it was all forums.
Yeah.
And if something's on a forum and someone else has done it, I've got to do it. Like what? So yeah, I've done everything. There's a guy called, rest in peace, there's a guy called Boston Lloyd, who was also extremely reckless, but he did, and unfortunately he died because of it. I was lucky I didn't go that far, but I always liked him. Like he was always open and honest, and yeah, he did stupid things, but someone's got to do them. Yeah, and it was, shout out to Dan Duchesne. He was like the guy who inspired it all. He was the OG chemist in the 80s that in the world of like bodybuilding, that pioneered experimentation with chemistry, and it was his books that first like inspired my want to research and experiment.
Is there something you're still chasing experimenting wise?
Right now, it's all cognitive enhancement,
right,
and like nootropics and all the peptides relating to that upregulate neuroplasticity. So I think that's going to be the thing that really.
We have a psychedelic talk tomorrow in the sauna.
Yes,
that's gonna be fun.
I'm excited for that. Yeah. Psychedelics are something I parked off quite a while ago, but then recently I did some experimentation with microdosing psilocybin compared with some peptides, and I had really good results.
Wow.
I had really good results, which
Would you feel the microdose acutely?
Yeah, well, I mean, it depends on the specific dose. I played around, so like, let's see, and it depends on the individual, and then also when you first take it, you're more likely to feel it.
100%,
like
yeah.
0.1, not really. When you go to like 0.2, 0.3, there is a background kind of bodily sensations. But in terms of creativity and productivity, I saw a big boost, which wasn't acute. It lasted in terms of it continued after cessation of use. Sometimes, yeah, I mean, before that, I would have said I'm not a fan of psychedelics. I see these guys. I don't think it's the answer. Like guys that go looking for the answer, doing ayahuasca.
Yeah, there's those two things. It's that people feeling like that's the end answer.
There's no answer. There's no. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You've got to, like we've said, it goes back to taking components of different realms, questioning, testing, like adapting. There's no one answer, and you got to find what. There's also a great deal of variation between individuals in the sense that something that might work for me might not work as well for you. Yeah. So like everyone has to. That's why that's something that's missed in these like the health coaching space. The health coach should be guiding that individual to find his path and what works for that individual, rather than prescribing a set of exactly, like a set of.
That's what you do.
That's what I try and do. I'd like to think that's what I do. Because there's no, otherwise you're just a cult leader, which is cool. Like, yeah, it feels cool, but I think a large component of those guys' success is based on the client's belief in them.
What happens when you finish coaching?
Exactly.
Yeah, they need to continue.
Exactly. The coach should be teaching the client how he can utilize, learn, and propagate his own methods in order to continue his work after discontinuation of the coaching. Like, that's logic, no?
Mm-hmm. How did you start your coaching? Like, exactly what? Was it?
It was on the doors. Like I said, like at the strip clubs, guys would end up chatting to me outside, asking all these questions. When I get speaking, and I speak on these topics I've been incessantly researching for years, to a weird degree, they'd be like, why the fuck do you know so much about? I realized, okay, like the normal individual perhaps they don't know quite as much as me about this topic. Let me leverage that rather than it just existing as a weird idiosyncratic trait of mine that can't be shared with females.
That's where you found that you wanted your main source of income to come from that.
Nah, it was never. I can't work for someone else, so I just leveraged what I'm good at, and they both worked. And God willing, it continues.
Mm-hmm. You have a tweet that I loved that I saw yesterday, which is you said that genetics are a 10 times multiplier over steroids.
Yeah.
Right.
Guys, if you've not dabbled about in anabolics, you would assume that they're the reason that a lot of the ridiculously looking guys look the way they do.
It's plus. They already have that.
They're an amplifier. Genetics are the largest component in determining the way someone.
Did you experience that, or like how did you witness?
Yeah, I mean, you get so. I'll have guys come to me that say they've been doing steroids for years, and you'll look at them and think,
there's a guy on Twitter who's been saying that.
What exactly are you injecting? But honestly, they have been, and I think now it's become. There's a lot of talk on Twitter right now about like androgen sensitivity and androgen deficiencies and the androgen receptor sensitivity and the way we're able to metabolize androgens. The variance between individuals is huge, and that's some of the reason why some people are able to use steroids and blow up and others aren't. Are like just genetic factors, not in terms of how much muscle they can build, but how they're able to utilize compounds like gene deficiencies, like myostatin deficiency, and things like that, which some guys have. And if they have that and they're natural, they're probably going to look bigger than a lot of guys on steroids that don't have it.
Yeah, my brother, he's 6. Well, he just turned 16, but he has, I think, a lot of or too much muscle for a 16-year-old. So I suspect there's a deficiency in myosin. Just by if you looked at him, you'd say the same thing.
It's fairly obvious to tell.
Yeah, I mean, he did a good job with this like low volume high intensity thing for a year. He did blow up like out of the blue, but he is too big. Yeah.
I mean, he's in. Well, I'd say he's lucky because then he doesn't have to use steroids. It'd be silly for him to use steroids, you know. Like me, I used to be tiny, absolutely tiny.
Really?
And if I had to find what worked for me, which again is not going to be the same for everyone. But when you've had to solve problems yourself, this is where like the life experience comes in. It's way easier to find solutions for others, even if it's not the same solution that worked for you. That ability to problem solve and like take a more 3D perspective, that like pattern recognition of figuring things out. Like, okay, well, so that doesn't work for him. If we shuffle things about, all of that. It's it's like molecular chess. And I enjoy that.
You mentioned at the start, and I kind of want to tie this to something Brute said, which is when he talks about ego, he gives the example of a pufferfish, right? When they're scared, they puff up, right? And you just kind of mentioned that on bodybuilding. When you have a big guy, it's because of that same reason. A little bit, no? Would you say?
Oh yeah, like 100%. I think everyone would agree. It's kind of obvious. Well, it's like the typical guy gets into the gym because he wants to impress the girls, or he feels weak and small, or whatever. It's the same reason, like a guy.
It's a self-image thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, that may change over time, but that child within you never leaves. Don't think that doubling your biceps is gonna ever take away that inner child, unless you work
on the inner, like
face. Yeah, and the working on that inner child doesn't come from
avoiding it even more
manipulation.
Okay,
it comes from internal. Like going back to the start, mind and body are inseparable, and if you're to only work on one component, you're spiritually off kilter. It's about taking them both together.
Yeah.
And always accounting for the other side.
Still talking about Brute.
Brute.
What is self-sabotage to you?
Self-sabotage is very interesting.
I want to know as much about it as possible. I've asked this question for the past like 3 podcasts.
Self-sabotage to me, I'll give you like what first comes to mind. You can tell me what the other guy said, because I'm interested to know what other people think. But for me, it would relate to literally what we just said. When I get guys come to me that show this, and I call it a trait because it repeats itself. It's not a one-time thing. Like someone who self-sabotages will often repeat this behavior throughout life. And from what I see, it normally stems from a similar kind of issue to the pufferfish bodybuilding thing. It's they don't feel worthy of what they'll reach a certain point, and because they've not worked on their inner child, their inner self, they don't feel worthy of what they have achieved, and so their body can't. It rejects it, and they have to try and undo it. They have to unravel it, and they're not conscious of what they're doing.
Yeah,
like they get the girl of their dreams, and they fuck it up, and because they don't feel that they're worthy of that individual. That's what I see most of the time. I don't know what like
the past 2 guests have said the exact same thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I think Brute talks about a similar thing. He's mentioned self-sabotage on like 2 different ideas. The one that I remember right now is that our biology is not used to abundance, and that's why it happens.
Right.
And the unworthy thing as well. I'm pretty sure he's kind of talked about that in some way.
There's another component that relates back to what we said about the destination. Like, we're not supposed to have a destination, and so when we feel we have arrived there,
that's where the self-sabotage. That's wow.
That self-sabotage can restart a journey, or it can be it can operate as like a bifurcation point, meaning it can send you in a different direction, and for whatever reason, maybe ostensibly we think that someone's reached this level of success, but inside they don't feel attached to it, like it's not aligning with their purpose or meaning. Therefore something will happen, and it will send them in a complete different course, and that's their body rejecting their situation. Sometimes a man, I'll give another example. Someone will come to me and instantly I'll know whether they're serious about what they want, because unless they've reached a certain point of hating their current position for whatever reason, they're not in a position where they can maintain a desire or motivation to alter their powerful current situation. Like a guy who completely tears himself down or reaches breaking point, that's when you can actually see change. Like an addict can only beat the addiction once the addiction has run its course. Like you can't get involved prior to that point. There has to be a point of catastrophic destruction, like cataclysmic change. The energy has to reach a point where there's an explosion or an implosion, and that's when you can change things. So I think in the same way, sometimes the sabotage might be the body's way of creating that event that precipitates
That
change.
does make sense. Yeah. If you could give your 19-year-old self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Listen to yourself.
To yourself.
Just don't doubt. Ignore everyone and everything. Not in terms
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Just your body's never wrong, and those instinctual thoughts and feelings, they're a gift. Like they're instilled within us for a reason. They serve an evolutionary purpose. Listen, don't stop doubting. Go your own way, do your own thing. You're perfectly capable, and so is everyone else. You don't need to follow. There's always going to be uncertainty.
Yeah.
You shouldn't look for certainty. You should look for what aligns with you, and normally, you'll know fairly early on.
I love that. For my last question, what brings you most joy in life right now?
Learning and growth
through just life experience.
Yeah, like what gives me a lot of joy is changing my perspectives on things. This has been touched on as well when we talked about this. Like people who aren't able to, you should be able to completely switch your view fairly quickly, and meeting different people from different areas of life. Even I know it sounds cringe, but even on Twitter, on X, just having access to different people's thoughts and being able to interact in a way I probably previously would have judged others way more and thought like, whatever, that's gay, I'm not, whatever. But like actually learning from people and interacting with people you may not typically put yourself with, there's beauty in it. Like you're able to share energy and take and give parts that weren't there previously in each individual. Sounds hippie, but I'm sure you understand what I mean.
Absolutely. I hope everyone understood too. Fuck yeah.